for the Budweiser Challenge.
So don't get lost in the woods, and be sure to get there safely this week on Dirt.
The checker's out, and here they come.
It's a new decade of speed, and we're turning them loose. Dirt track gladiators hanging on the edge. Over 30 electrifying speedways, racing into the 90s with a vengeance.
Body and sideways, skyrocketing his way back up to the #1 position.
Now, this week on Dirt, here's Doug Logan and Andy Fusco.
Hello once again, everybody. Welcome to This Week on Dirt. My name is Doug Logan. Andy Fusco is still on assignment, but we have a more than capable substitute. Out of the hot seat behind the steering wheel, into the hot seat right here, Mr. Dirt for 1990, Brett Hearn. Brett, welcome.
Why, thanks, Doug. You know, trying to win 2 races at Middletown is a little bit more of my forte, but it's always nice to sit in. This week we have 2 tough skull races. We've got the Firecracker 100 from Rolling Wheels and a look ahead to Sanair in the Asphalt Challenge.
All right. First up, though, a stop at Lebanon Valley and proof positive that the missing Andy Fusco does actually work.
Brett Hearn and Doug Hoffman, whenever there's a big show at Lebanon Valley, they're the 2 guys to beat. Tonight's race is the Super Dirt Series 91 along the Skoll Tour. It's the first time the 2 of them raced at Lebanon Valley since last year's Lebanon Valley 200, and boy, you remember that one. The finish was a real humdinger.
Brett got right on me. I knew he was right on me, but I still drove the last lap just overcautious, you know, and slowed up a little bit. And, you know, the last lap when a race is paying $10,000 to win, I think Brett did all he could do to try and get the win, and we were lucky enough to hold him off. We got together coming off the 4, but we're both professional racers, and we were able to get to the finish line.
The Valley man who had the most for the Invaders this night was Mark Quinn, who drew the pole. Hey, Mark, just how important is it to start in the front row here at the Valley?
I would say it's the most important. The cars are so dead even, I don't think anyone's really going to run away with it. So if you can stay up front and just run a good line, conserve your tires, boy, with any luck, we should be hanging towards the end. That's what we did Saturday night and won. Hopefully we can repeat here tonight.
As the Canandaigua Dodge brought the field down for the start of the race, it was Quinn and surprise Gary Waters on the front row. The second row was Dickie Larkin, who would fade, and Jack Johnson, who wouldn't. When starter Matt Higgins threw the green flag, it was Quinn on the point, and Gary Waters in second place. But check out that red number 3J, the Randy Kosacki Velcro car, we call it. Jeff Hetzler was the driver this night, and look at those moves on that first lap. It was a yellow flag plagued event, and the restart seemed to bring more yellows. Here, Roger Horvath in the 79 and Weddy Kidd in the 95 collide on the front straightaway. Meanwhile, the man on the move was Brett Hearn. Hearn had started 8th, and here he uses the low road to go underneath Hetzler, and then Gary Waters. And look at Jack Johnson. Does he have the best seat in the house or what? Brett Hearn now into second place. Just past halfway, Quinn still leading, but Brett Hearn right on his tailpipe. Hearn goes under Quinn between turns 3 and 4 and takes the lead down the front straightaway. Moments later, Quinn's night would end with a blowing motor in the number 60. Hearn's usual Lebanon Valley challenger, Doug Hoffman, was no factor this night. He qualified through the Consi after drawing badly in his heat. Here he races with Kenny Tremont and Jack Cottrell. Cottrell will finish 6th, Tremont 7th, and Hoffman in 8th. Last lap, Fluery goes low to block Jack, and Billy the Kid Pouch uses the high road to grab a spot. But up front, it was all Brett Hearn. Mark Fluery finished 2nd, Pouch was 3rd, Jack Johnson 4th, and Matt Quinn finished 5th. When it came to Victory Lane laurels, what I wanted to know was, hey, Brett, was it as easy as it looked?
It's never easy, never easy. The car just was very good. The car is very good. It was a very difficult track to pass on, and I think Mark Quinn would have been a real challenge had he not had his engine problems. I think he started to develop the problems about 4 laps before he fell out, and I managed to get by him. He slowed up on the straightaways quite a bit, and I could smell it. It wasn't a good sign.
Equally happy was Mark Fluery, who gets the Syracuse spot for the first time in his career.
Yeah, that's I've never had one of them, and I've been trying for years and years and traveling all over the place, and it was nice to get one here at my home track.
Not as happy was Pouch. His car looked to be as fast as Hearn's, but because he got docked 4 positions early, he never made up track position and had to settle for 3rd.
We were pretty happy. The only thing I was a little upset with in the whole race is getting put back 4 spots for position that I thought 2 guys were arguing in front of me, and that cost me big time.
Question I have for you, Brett. Were you biding your time, figuring that Quinn was in trouble?
Well, you know, I took my time early, just try to conserve the car a little bit, but by the time I got to Mark, I had a feeling that he just might have a little bit of a problem, so I was there to take advantage of it.
Oh, yes. Brett was hooked up, as they say. Now, the Skoal Racing Super Dirt Series moved down the thruway to the Moody Mile, and my, was Brett Hearn hooked up that night. That's coming up next.
Along with our first look at some dirt winners.
This Week on Dirt is brought to you by Budweiser. Nothing beats a Bud. By Sunoco Gasoline. By Ground Round Restaurants. And by Pepsi-Cola.
Dear Jenny, you're so neat. I don't usually pour my heart out like this. I'm mesmerized. Your effervescent charm. My passion for you will never be quenched. I will always thirst for your companionship. Oh, Jenny, you must feel so special. I feel like a Pepsi.
Relive the magic of Super Dirt Week 90 with 2 official Dirt Motorsports videotapes. Tape number 1, Sammy Swindell outlasts the Wolf in the Ground Round Nationals. The National Auto Supply 358 Championship. Barefoot Bob takes the A-Plus Winners Classic. And Toby Tobias Jr. burns up the Moody Mile in the non-qualifiers race. Tape number 2, Hearn's strategy pays off in the Miller 300. Now a special television offer, 1 for $14.95, both for $24.95. Include $3 for shipping. Don't miss the action.
We interrupt this program for a Budweiser news update.
Catch Huey Lewis in the News Hard and Play Tour, brought to you by the King of Beers.
800 horsepower screaming around the fastest racetrack in Canada. The Mighty Modifieds, Brett Hearn, Bob McCreadie, Luke Plant, Doug Hoffman, Robert Ranger, Danny Johnson. The best in the Northeast tackle Sanair Super Speedway on Sunday, July 14th in the Budweiser Asphalt Challenge. Only the brave dare, the St. Pete Tri-Oval, and on Sunday, July 14th, they will be there. The start of the best 3 days in Canadian racing, the Budweiser Asphalt Challenge comes to Sanair.
The July 3rd Syracuse Skoal Super Dirt Race found 45 modifieds in the pits, a grandstand filled with spectators, and our Larry Newber along for the holiday fireworks.
On Wednesday, the troops moved west to Syracuse in the Moody Mile. Now, this is another race in the Skoal Series. Many of the top teams try to compete in as many of these series races as they possibly can. And even though this is only July, it is Syracuse, and Syracuse is something else. Just ask Tommy Corellis what a win here at Syracuse would mean.
Well, a win here, it would mean a lot to you. It's just like a Winston Cup car going to Daytona. That's what Syracuse is all about. It's the fastest one-mile race, dirt racetrack that I ever been on, and it's sure pleasure to drive. The fans are super here, and I enjoy it a lot.
But then again, not for everybody, we guess.
Well, Syracuse, I don't know. You know, there's good money at the end of the year here, but other than that, it's nothing special to me. I just as soon be at Rolling Wheels right now racing.
Tonight's Syracuse race was special for yet another reason, however. It was a recognition of the returning troops from Operation Desert Storm. They were honored in pre-race ceremonies. Doug Hoffman and Billy Taylor's ace was very concerned over his car until the draw erased that. Hey, it's been a long night. Maybe it's changing.
Well, I was going to have Taylor come up and draw, but they wanted us to come up and be in front of the crowd, so I just had him pick it out. He just told me which one to pick.
Guess you need to follow his instructions, huh?
Well, this is starting position's real critical here, you know, and it's going to be nice to start up front.
Go good, Doug.
Thanks.
Hoffman and Stevie Payne in yellow were on the front row, and right behind were Syracuse vets Tom Corellis and Jack Johnson back in his own orange modified. Buried deep in the pack were Joe Plazik in 15th, and from the Consi, Billy Decker. They will have great races. Hoffman grabbed the lead at the drop of the green flag. Doug Hoffman dominated the first half of this race.
And except for being jumped on one restart, Brett the Jet raced second. This had become another classic confrontation between the Freightliner Express and the tailor-made Modified. Corellis proved to be the toughest to pass, but eventually Tremont, then Decker, the fastest car of the track most of this race, got by. A late yellow for Matt Quinn's wall blast gave Decker the chance he deserved, but in the end, he had nothing left for either Brett or Doug. The closest racing was for 6th through 15th, believe it or not, the final 10 laps of the race. It was spectacular. And eventually the winner of this race, for 6th overall, Bill Wilson, racing past names like Jack Johnson, Plazek, and Hetzler, and Tobias Jr. But this moment at nearly 150 miles per hour with the maroon lap car of Dirk Andriance thrown in was the moment of tonight's Moody Mile.
He got a little bit slowed up coming off the corner. I got a good run on him. I almost made an outside move stick over here, but it put me in the right angle to get him on the back straightaway there with that lap car. So, you know, it's just one of those things where it just worked out. I think we were a little quicker than he was. The early stages of the race, I was really concerned about burning off the right rear tire, and I sat back there and kept the car straight for a while and waited till we got the lap traffic to move up on him. So,
within one lap after this, Brett already led by 5 seconds. He went on to Syracuse victory lane for the 3rd time in a row, dating back to last October, and his 5th win here in 2 years.
Let's take a look at the Skoal Racing Super Dirt Series driver points. And leading the way is my cohort tonight, Brett Hearn with 529 points. Then Doug Hoffman and Billy Decker, Kenny Tremont, John Strupp, Jeff Hetzler, the top 6, Steve Payne, Billy Pouch, Jeff Trombley, Danny Johnson, Sammy Rogers, and Frank Cozy. Now, for the past couple of years, Brett Hearn has owned Lebanon Valley and the New York State Fairgrounds. What is your secret?
Well, I think it's really pretty simple, Doug. It's really a well-prepared Freightliner Olsen car with a Tony File big block that makes a lot of horsepower.
Spoken like a well-polished PR man indeed. The Fuji points picture develops around some big block tracks this week. Let's take a look. Starting at Fonda, Randy Snyder leads the way with 476 points. Jeff Trombley is second.
At Canandaigua, it's Danny Johnson over Allen.
On to Flemington, Doug Hoffman, then Billy Pouch and Mark Fusco.
At Cayuga County, Steve Payne having a great year. He's over Billy Decker and Ken Tremont.
And at Autodrome, Drummond, Rial LaFrance leads the way along with Luke Plant. They're deadlocked at 402 points even. Now, could that Freightliner Express make it 3 in a row?
Well, we sure would like to try, so stick around and see what happens.
It's my steak place.
Round, round, McCreadie's. It's our lunch place. Ground, round, my ground, round. It's our favorite place. Ground, round is the place to be.
It's my birthday place.
Great prices for your family.
It's our family place.
Ground, round, my ground, round.
It's our game place.
Ground, round.
And you're gonna love our prices.
Super Dirt Week 91 at the New York State Fairgrounds in Syracuse. A week of non-stop action. Saturday, the Ground Round Nationals featuring the World of Outlaws and the Wheels Discount Auto Store's 358 Championship. Sunday, the richest race on dirt, the Miller 300. Make your vacation plans early.
They don't have race cars in the Caribbean.
Gotta have sprint cars, modifieds, and partying, no doubt.
Don't miss the greatest week on dirt. For information, call 315-834-6606.
Sharky, a cut above the rest. Demoted device.
Welcome to the snake pit.
Builds a machine to hunt a stone killer.
Sharky, this guy is a ghost.
Brought to his knees by a beautiful hooker. Rachel Ward, Burt Reynolds.
Don't make me call you what you really are.
They make you feel like some pathetic peeping Tom.
Sharky's Machine. Join me, Dana Hersey, Thursday, July 18th for TV 38's Movie Loft.
It's the 7th annual Bud Light Sprintman Triathlon Series. Join host and veteran triathlete Dave Ragsdale, along with color analyst Dennis Chibot, for this grueling competition of men's and women's triathlon. The series winner will advance to the national championship. Our next race comes your way Tuesday, July 23rd at 7 p.m. from Lake Harris, Florida. That's the Bud Light Sprintman Triathlon Series, right here on NESN.
Racing can be a very hazardous sport. That's why we try to take every possible precaution for safety. Here's my good buddy Mark Kenyon to tell us about how he protects himself against fire.
Now, this week's Sunoco High Octane Report.
For this week's Sunoco High Octane Report, we're going to talk about fire and how we protect ourselves in the car during a race. On the Team 17 car, I utilize Design 500 Nomex 3-layer suit with one-piece underwear. I wear a Nomex shoe and a sock. Also, I wear a head sock to protect my face in the event of a fire. Last year, during the Labor Day race here at Syracuse, we were actually involved in a fire, and my hand was saved from serious injury by a glove. The importance of fire protection cannot be overemphasized. For this week's Sunoco High Octane Report, I'm Mark Kenyon.
Nothing's too good for my baby. Nothing. So my baby gets very special treatment.
There's a gasoline so special, it even exceeds BMW's detergency standard.
Fill it up. Ultra.
Sunoco Ultra 94. Clean power from the highest octane under the sun. Nothing else can match it.
Nothing.
One more holiday feature remained. That was the Firecracker 100 at Rolling Wheels. And with all the dirt stars already in central New York for the State Fair race, quite a field was anticipated.
The 4th of July. Time for fireworks in the air and fireworks on the racetrack at the Rolling Wheels Raceway. It was the annual Firecracker 100. And what a display it was of professional auto racing. First off, Jeff Hetzler, driving the Ford-powered number 74, took off in the number 1 slot with Doug Hoffman following. But a hurricane was moving in. No, not the 70-mile-an-hour wind from last year's Firecracker. Steve Payne aboard the yellow number 7X. First getting by Hoffman, then coming around the outside to pass by Hetzler and take the lead. The barefooted wonder was also moving up through the pack. Bob McCreadie coming past Mike Rickey in the number 97. Captain Quick became Captain Crunch as Kurt Van Pelt piled into a spun Roger Horvath in the early portion of the race. Van Pelt was uninjured. The car, well, that wasn't so lucky. Back to green flag racing action. Payne on the outside, again passing by Hetzler. In the early portion of the event, Payne was using the outside groove to get by Hetzler on just about every restart. Then up came Barefoot Bob. Barefoot, moving to the outside of the racetrack with a slightly harder tire, was able to come by Hetzler and then started to track down the Hurricane Steve Payne. Alan Johnson was going through the pack as well. He was trying to work his way forward. He would wind up there at the end of the race, but something would put a stop to him, and it wasn't a mechanical problem. More on that later. Back at the front of the pack, Barefoot Bob was testing the waters as he prepared to try to get around Hurricane Steve Payne.
I knew he had pretty soft tires on because he drove off from us early, you know. That's a good indication the guy's a little bit softer than you are. I felt if we could push him a little and make him run hard and make just one mistake, maybe I could get him.
Well, Bob got him. Bob went up into the lead and started to pull away. Up came A.J. Slideways, and A.J. got him too. Allen moved up into the number 2 spot with this move off turn number 4 to get by Payne, whose soft tires were starting to lose their grip. Then it happened. On lap 79, the rain started to come down. The racetrack got too slick for the event to finish. The checker came out, and Barefoot Bob took the victory.
Mike told me Al was up to second, and I knew he had a pretty hard tire on, so I knew he was going to be strong all the rest of the way, and I was already tired with Steve. You know, I mean, Steve really, we worked ourselves over out there hard, and I'm just glad I didn't have to come to that because Al's hot right now, and I wouldn't want to monkey with him when he's really working good.
Now, you know, the Central New York boys got the upper hand at the fast track, but there's a certain fella from Vernon, New Jersey that usually runs well at Rolling Wheels.
Well, we usually do, and this was a top 5 finish, but it doesn't take much to be just a little bit off. Gear, maybe the wrong tires. It doesn't take much to just put you across that fine line.
And Barefoot Bob McCreadie was looking pretty doggone good that night. Now, the bugles were blowing, the cavalry mounted up. We're getting set for the weekend wars.
Well, it's a preview of our favorite part of the Skoal Tour, the Canadian part, as This Week on Dirt continues.
volleyball to boxing, from fishing to Fenway, NESN is your ticket to summer sports action.
This is Football Down Under, or as you Yanks call it, Australian rules football. We just call it footy. It's fast, continuous action. We don't wear helmets, padding, or any of that sissy stuff. Sometimes it looks as if there aren't any rules, but the more you watch, the more you'll appreciate the skills. Of course, you have to call everybody mate, even if he's just knocked your block off. So, okay mate, watch Football Down Under, right here on Prime Network.
NESN is your ticket to Pro Beach Volleyball on Wednesday, July 24th, when the 1991 Summer Tour travels to Chicago, Illinois. Tune in for all the sun-splashed, crowd-pleasing fun from the Windy City on July 24th at 11:30 p.m. right here on NESN.
On Saturday, July the 20th, the New York Mets farm team, the Tidewater Tides, come north to battle the Paw Sox. All the action starts your way live at 7, right here on NESN. It's a duel of East against West, American League against National League. It's the Pawtucket Red Sox against the Tidewater Tides, Saturday, July the 20th, live at 7.
Terrific action this week on the front line, so let's get to it.
Just another Friday night in paradise. Well, not exactly. It was the Mid-Season Sportsman Championship at the Paradise Speedway. Chuck Bauer took the early lead as Ray Preston spun. Involved Stubby Pangrazio, Kevin Black, and Jeff Bliss in the 36, and a host of other competitors. Final lap, final corner. Bauer tucked behind a slower car. Schrader tries to catch him, but at the line, Bauer takes the victory. We go east to the Lebanon Valley Speedway. Mark Quinn jumps out in the front of this highly competitive modified feature, while Billy Decker works his way up into the number 4 spot. On the outside of turn number 2, Decker in the 91 comes by Roger Horvath in the 79. He then got by Bobby Alberts, number 96, got by leader Quinn on the inside of turn number 4, and Decker started to run away from the field. It was a good night for the Franklin Flyer and the Wheels Discount Auto Supply number 91 as Billy Decker picked up the feature event victory at Lebanon Valley. We go northward now to the Can-Am Speedway, where the two Daves started on the front row. Dave Bartlett on the inside, Dave Hayslip on the outside. Hayslip went up into the number 1 spot, while Pat O'Brien made this killer move, passing 4 cars going down the back straightaway. Talk about horsepower. His brother, the Pocket Rocket, Danny O'Brien, in the number 17, went to the outside of Hayslip and took over the number 1 spot, with Laurent Ladesseur following him. Then going into turn number 1, Danny O'Brien has a flat left rear tire, and Ladesseur takes the lead. Another restart. Rick Wilson moves up to third. Pat O'Brien is moved up, goes to the outside and goes around Ladesseur like he's standing still. He would pay the ultimate price, though, as the motor exploded on the number 1 car, and Ladesseur went on to take the victory at Can-Am. Further northward at the Cornwall Speedway, another great night at this very fine Canadian facility. Dave Hayslip again gets the number 1 spot. Doug Carlisle gets tagged up with Randy Connors in the 120. Another competitor winds up tasting the trees on the backstretch. Hayslip continued to lead, but then Carlisle moved his way up, went around to the outside, 1 lane up on the racetrack, and off turn number 4, Carlisle had the lead and held on to take the victory. At the Land of Legends on Saturday night, Charlie Dunk took the early lead in the start of the modified feature go in the number 99 car. John Ventura in the Paloil 711 then came up to challenge. Ventura went up onto the outside groove, putting the right rear tire on the cushion, and he got around to go into the number 1 spot, but not too far behind Dr. J, Danny Johnson. Johnson used the inside groove. He got by Ventura, and Danny Johnson went on to take career win number 50 at the Canandaigua Speedway. Sunday at the Cayuga County Fair Speedway, a new face graced victory lane. What a feature event it was. The high groove was the hot place to be. Billy Decker, getting by Pat Ward, was trying to make it 2 in a row. So was Ward, as he won at Fonda Speedway back on Saturday night. Ward then went upstairs, got by Decker, and took the victory at Cayuga County.
I don't think Billy would have moved out of the outside groove, and he was very fast up there. If it wasn't for that restart, him showing me where to run the groove on the track, I might never beat him.
And that's the Weekend Wars. I'm Paul Small.
The Budweiser Asphalt Challenge crosses the border this weekend and enters another country, which incidentally has quite a background in racing itself.
This year marks the third time the Budweiser Dirt Asphalt Challenge will visit the Sanair Super Speedway. I do mean super. Aside from Syracuse and Nazareth, this is the largest track the dirt circuit runs. Like Kenny Schrader said to the guys the first time he came there 2 years ago for the first event, it's a very fast track for these guys. I'd say about the same as Nazareth, since it's a 1.4 kilometer, which is about 7/8 of a mile. And speed could be as fast as 130 some miles an hour. In a low 25 seconds for 7/8 of a mile. The speeds are very high, so they have to be very careful, do some very direct lines on the track, so it warns everybody else what they're going to do, during the race. In last year's event, at the start of the race, Brett Hearn aboard the Freightliner number 6 got tagged by another competitor and wound up careening into the wall and then became part of a multi-car pileup. Mark Kenya, driving the Caesars Palace car, then pulled his car into the pits and changed drivers. Hearn was allowed to climb into the car. He ultimately finished third. The event was dominated by barefoot Bob McCreadie. Bob does not feel any one driver is going to dominate this year's event at Sanair.
Sanair just takes a real, well-balanced race car. It takes the fastest car to win. We've been the fastest car up there really every year we went up, and should have won the first year, and we did finally win one. But now there's a lot more specialized cars out there, and the competition's so keen, I don't see anybody running away and hiding in it. It's going to be a real tough race.
After Sanair, the Dirt Stars hop back into their dirt cars for 2 Skull Super Dirt Series events at Autodrome's Drummond and Granby on Monday and Tuesday. Both racetracks are big and flat, the ideal kind of surface for Brett Hearn, who is the defending Skull Super Dirt Series champion. Put it together with Sanair, you've got 3 of the greatest days of racing in Canada. Drummondville has been there for 41 years so far, and Granby, it's the 6th year. We do have tremendous show weekly, but Sanair is only once a year.
They have reeled the wheel eaters in, and it's a 5-car race. 89 laps, there's 75 gone, and all at once the race is on. The top 5 cars are...
So come see us in Quebec. Here are the dates.
All right, yes, you will see our nice and easy Driver of the Week winner, Mr. Dirt Brett Hearn. He wins $200, a special medallion, and is now eligible for the Nice and Easy Grocery Shop's Driver of the Year award and $1,000. Brett, congratulations on an outstanding week. We'll see you on the Canadian swing. For Mr. Dirt Brett Hearn, Doug Logan, thank you for joining us, and so long for now. Well, some of them were.
While these guys said, the heck with that, racing on dirt's the real thing.
And to think it all started out looking like this week on Dirt.
The checker's out, and here they come.
It's a new decade of speed, and we're turning them loose. Dirt track gladiators hanging on the edge. Over 30 electrifying speedways, racing into the 90s with a vengeance.
Making an old and sideways, skyrocketing his way back up to the #1 position.
Now, this week on Dirt, here's Doug Logan and Andy Fusco.
Hello once again, everybody. Welcome to This Week on Dirt. My name is Doug Logan, and joining me, the senior editor of Stock Car Racing magazine, Andy Fusco. And Andy, it's good to have you back.
Thanks a lot, Doug. To plagiarize John Denver, gee, it is good to be back home. This is a pretty comfortable chair indeed. Thanks, Larry Newber and Brett Hearn, for the wonderful job filling in the last 2 weeks in my absence. And Doug, what's the first story on this week's show?
Well, the Budweiser Dirt Asphalt Challenge at Sanair Super Speedway. And it's a mouthful, but the race was very, very exciting, and we have it in 2 parts. Our John Snyder was there to capture the pre-race flavor.
For the third race on the Budweiser Dirt Asphalt Challenge Series, the dirt cars and stars moved into the heart of Quebec to the Sanair Super Speedway. Unlike the last asphalt track they ran on in Flemington, which is a shorter 4-corner racetrack, Sanair is a 7/8 mile tri-oval. Current Skull Super Dirt Series point leader Brett Hearn was ready to mount a challenge and continue to pad his points lead in the Skull Super Dirt Series. He showed what he had for the other competitors in his qualifying heat. Mark Kenyon took off to the early lead. Kenyon's car was very fast, the Caesars Palace Pocono Resorts number 17, but Hearn, driving the Freightliner number 6, had no problem catching him and passing him. We asked Brett if he made any changes to the car between the Super Speedway at Nazareth and the Super Speedway at Sanair.
No, really, this car is almost exactly the same way that we ran it at Nazareth. We were very pleased with the car then. It's got a small block in it for today's race, and only other thing that we really did was we just basically erased Flemington from our mind and just wrote that off as a whole different thing. And he came here with a, with a good clean slate, I hope.
In other qualifying heat action, Toby Tobias Jr. started on the pole of his heat with stiff competition behind him. Doug Hoffman in the 1, Jimmy Horton in the active 2. Hoffman would hold his own, but Horton was stuck at the back of the pack. The car not working well for him on this day. Lenny Boyd's car was working very well. The Flemington Speedway regular got by Tobias and went on to win this qualifying heat event. The next qualifying heat was also full of big-time talent. Billy Decker would go on to win the qualifying heat, and Bob McCreadie's car was working very well as he got by Jack Johnson here in this heat event. McCreadie would be a big factor in the feature event to come. Billy Decker, however, would not run the car that he qualified in the feature event. He had some problems. Let's let Billy explain what happened.
The car was working really well. Our turn speed was good. And the second lap of the heat race, we had some valve springs let go, and I didn't think it was that bad. And we come in the pit area and we looked at it, and we had 5 busted valve springs. So with the shrapnel throughout the whole motor, we don't want to take a chance and just try to fix it with all the debris in the bottom half of the motor. So we're going to fix the dirt car up and see if we can make a few laps with it.
When it came time for the draw for position, Toby Tobias Jr. picked the right one, the number 1. Our John Snyder was right there to ask him how he felt.
Toby Tobias, pole position. Not a bad way to start a race up here at Sanair.
No, it feels real good. I hope we stay there. We just got to hold them off for a while and just run a comfortable pace and not try to run harder than the car wants to go.
Does this change your strategy at all?
No, not really. We'll just get a car that's real consistent and make the distance, and hopefully it'll be at the same position at the end.
A little after 3 o'clock in the afternoon, it's a warm, sunny day, and the drivers are getting anxious. We're just minutes away from the start here at the 1991 Skoll Super Dirt race here at Sanair International Speedway. Behind me, Toby Tobias in the pole sitting car alongside Robert Ranger. In the second row, Brett Hearn and Mark Fusco. It's going to be an exciting afternoon.
And thanks to Paul Small for helping John Snyder with that report. John could not be any more correct.
Never were truer words spoken, as we'll soon see, right after some weekend winners.
This Week on Dirt is brought to you by Budweiser. Nothing beats a Bud. By Sunoco Gasoline. By Ground Round Restaurants. And by Pepsi-Cola.
Dear Jenny, you're so neat. I don't usually pour my heart out like this. I'm mesmerized. Your effervescent charm. My passion for you will never be quenched. I will always thirst for your companionship.
Oh, Jenny, you must feel so special.
I feel like a Pepsi.
Hearn, Hoffman, Barefoot Bob. Each man has won a dirt asphalt challenge event, but can they break the Thompson jinx? Find out Sunday, July 28th, as the Budweiser Dirt Asphalt Challenge takes to the high banks of Thompson Speedway. Thompson, the mini super speedway. The speeds are lightning fast, and sometimes the track bites back. Can the Dirt Warriors conquer the Thompson Arena of Speed? Find out Sunday afternoon, July 28th at noon in the Budweiser Dirt Asphalt Challenge.
We interrupt this program for a Budweiser news update.
Catch Huey Lewis in the News Hard and Play Tour, brought to you by the King of Beers.
From the present to the past, car coming.
an auto racing history of New York State. From the birth of racing to the modern era, Car Coming will fill you with stats and stories from over 200 racetracks. Travel through the pages with drivers like Cagle, Bodine, Evans, Schreichler, Kneisel, Lazaro, Hogue, Champagne, Rudiman, and more. Car Coming, they say auto racing began when they built the second automobile.
Getting set to get back to Sanair. Now, the cars are on the track, 7,500 anxious fans leaning forward, and the green flag is about to fly. So let's see what all the fuss is about.
The stage is set, the playing field is ready, and the competitors have taken the field. We're not talking football, we're talking the Budweiser Dirt Asphalt Challenge at Sanair. Richie Tobias on the pole. Billy Decker starting 12th with his dirt car. Bob McCreadie starting 10th. Jimmy Horton Jr. starting 17th. There is world-class talent scattered throughout this field. And here's the green flag to start the Skoal Super Dirt Series 91 Budweiser Dirt Asphalt Challenge event. Tobias gets out into the early lead. Here's Brett Hearn in the number 6. That's Robert Ranger in the 397. The Canadian entry running up front early. Mark Kenyon coming on with forces. Ranger lifts up the left front tire. Jack Johnson comes to the inside. Doug Hoffman goes to the outside. The opening laps were absolutely wild. And still Brett Hearn marched on. He caught Mark Fusco after Tobias faded and Fusco got by him. Fusco's asphalt experience definitely helped, but Hearn was closing the gap ever so quickly. And so was Bob McCreadie moving up when suddenly, all by himself, the car spins up in turn number 1. Bob's car comes to rest on the inside apron. Frank Jazombowski's 88 was also involved. Bob, with the tires flat spotted, was forced to make a pit stop to change tires and also to take a round of wedge out of the car. This put him all the way back to the tail of the field under the caution flag, but Bob did not lose a lap. When the green flag came out for the restart, Mark Fusco was still the surprise leader, but coming up to challenge was Brett Hearn and Doug Hoffman. You'll remember Hoffman won the Dirt Asphalt Challenge event earlier this year at the Flemington Fair Speedway. Fusco did not give way to the challenge of these two top dirt stars. He maintained the number 1 spot, and as you can see from this shot off turn number 2, Bob McCreadie had a long road ahead of him. Mark Fusco continued to maintain the number 1 spot, but Brett Hearn was beginning to challenge in the Freightliner number 6. However, as we mentioned earlier, Fusco has had experience driving on the asphalt at Flemington every week, and he put it to good use. But this situation he could do nothing about. A lap car right in the groove almost put him in the inside wall off the 3rd turn, and Hearn got by to go into the number 1 spot, and just a lap later, Hoffman got by as well, and they joined battle up front. Hearn versus Hoffman. Now, what happened to Mark Kenyon? He said he was driving the fastest he had ever driven in a dirt modified and was excited about being around at the end of the race. Unfortunately, he didn't make it to the end of the race. He got caught up in this altercation with Jeff Trombley and Jimmy Horton. Kenyon was shaken up, but he was otherwise okay. And a tough break for Horton, crashing out at Nazareth, getting a good finish at Flemington, but experiencing another wreck on a super speedway. Brett Hearn up front trying to pull away, had Doug Hoffman and Frank Cozy right on his tail. Lenny Boyd was also moving up. Boyd would move into the number 3 position with this outside pass of Toby Tobias Jr. One of Dirt's top Canadian stars, Luke Plant, then had a problem cutting a tire on the front straightaway. Plant would have to drive the car all the way back around the racetrack on the flat tire to get it to the pits. That he did to finish 10th. McCreadie continued to come up through the field, coming up on Kevin Collins in the 12 and John Strupp in the number 3 car. McCreadie would not rest until he got up front, but would he have enough for this kind of a lead battle when he got there? Brett Hearn was running in the number 1 spot. Hoffman right on his back bumper in 2nd. Frank Cozy running 3rd, got left back in traffic as the leaders continued to pull away. McCreadie had moved all the way up from last into the number 4 spot and was starting to chase down the 22, driven by Flemington Speedway regular Lenny Boyd.
Once I got by Lenny Boyd, he was, he was a hang-up for us. He's got mid-phase corner speed, but he doesn't have much straightaway speed, so it's hard to pass him, The other guys are kind of dirt-oriented cars, and you know them better.
Bob's feeling that the race had turned around for him was punctuated by this. Brett Hearn's motor failing Towards the end of the event, Hearn would retire to the pits. McCreadie inherited the #2 spot behind new leader Doug Hoffman. He had been moving up through the pack, abusing the tires in the car. Did he have enough left to get by Hoffman? On lap number 85, McCreadie answered everybody's questions with this move in between turns 1 and 2. Bob McCreadie went on to get the great payday and the big win at Sanair.
Yeah, but this was a tough one. The last one we started on the pole, this one we had to come from the back twice, so. I mean, I owe all the credit to my crew. I mean, the crew and Ron Hutter put us this motor together this week, you know, and it was if he hadn't got the motor done, we wouldn't be here. If the crew hadn't done such a great job when we pitted, we wouldn't be here, and they just did a fantastic job. My sponsors, Syracuse Frame and Apple House and J.G. Turner, I mean, everything worked out real good for us today.
Second, Doug Hoffman. Third, Lenny Boyd. Quite a run out there today.
Well, I thought we had a shot at it. You know, I could pressure Brett whenever I wanted to. I was real tight getting through the tri-oval and coming off the 4th turn, and it kind of hurt me a little bit, but I figured once Brett had motor troubles or whatever happened there, I thought we were home free. But he brought out the yellow, and it put Bob right on my tail, and I just couldn't get away from him. The car shoved the nose going into one, and he got underneath me.
Lenny, you had a good run out there, too, today.
Well, I was going about the same speed as Doug, but I was loose. So we were both in trouble a little bit, but I'm happy with it. Bob McCreadie's really running, and we got to do our homework to catch up with that guy.
The final order of finish: McCreadie the winner, Hoffman second, Boyd third, followed by Cozy, Mark Fusco, Tobias, John Strupp, Robert Ronche, Steve Payne, and Luke Plant. The competition gets even hotter when the next Dirt Asphalt Challenge event challenges a mini super speedway, the fast High Bank Thompson Speedway in Connecticut. Who could forget the classic battle in the first race there back in 1989? Bob McCreadie trying to defeat Winston Cup driver and former modified campaigner Jeff Bodine. Bodine, driving the Billy Taylor car that year, took the first ever victory at Thompson. Then last year in 1990, Jack Cottrell gets sideways on the opening lap, and Doug Hoffman gets caught up with Bob McCreadie. McCreadie again snake bit at Thompson. This time another NASCAR star from the Winston Modified Tour, Reggie Ruggiero, is the winner. Can a dirt regular win a Dirt Asphalt Challenge event at Thompson? We'll find out on Sunday night, July the 28th.
And the Super Dirt Series marches on. This week, Dave Lape and I bring the series up to Can-Am, just north of Watertown. The following night, the comeback track of the year, Fonda, hosts the tour.
Next up, July 28th, Thompson Speedway, and July 30th, Rolling Wheels Raceway.
And the night after Rolling Wheels, Dave Lape and I, Lapco at Woodhall. Second consecutive year there.
All right, then we'll take a look now at the Super Dirt Series driver points, and Brett Hearn continues to lead the way. Doug Hoffman in second.
Followed by Kenny Tremont. Moving on now into the second 6, Jeff Hetzler, Jeff Trombley, and all the way down to Billy Pouch.
All right, now the Super Dirt Series really looks to be tightening up.
You know, just a week ago, Brett Hearn was running away, but now it's real tight. Get to the races. This one's a good one.
All right, it is the best show in town. Larry Newberg joins us with a trip down memory lane as This Week on Dirt continues.
Volleyball to boxing, from fishing to Fenway, NESN is your ticket to summer sports action.
NESN is your ticket to top men's tennis coverage from around the world. On the weekend of July 20th and 21st, tune in for the Sovereign Bank Tennis Classic, featuring Andre Agassi, John McEnroe, and Brad Gilbert. The semifinals are on Saturday, July 20th at 4 and 10 p.m. And the championship is on Sunday, July 21st, live at 1 p.m. That's the Sovereign Bank Tennis Classic from Washington, D.C., right here on NESN.
wet and wild water sports. Didn't even get wet.
Okay, classmates, gather around the blackboard. Here's Professor Nuber with a little history lesson.
Trenton, Langhorne, Reading, the Nutley Velodrome, they're all gone. And that's unfortunate because the history of the motor sport is the history of Eastern racing. But today, if you're looking for a living will or testament to the sport, only Syracuse and Indianapolis truly remain. Every inch of this place is emotional. For instance, one of the first major American international stars to die doing his sport, Jimmy Murphy, crashed to his death near this very spot in the early 1920s. Beyond that, finding other living memories is much more difficult. But you are privileged to get a glimpse of that past. Rare films recently uncovered and collected. Not surprisingly, American motor racing began on the East Coast. About the turn of the century, Narragansett Park on Long Island claims it staged events for that newfangled invention called the car, short for horseless carriage. Those races evolved into the Vanderbilt Cup, the first major international races in North America. Racing began life as point-to-point contest, then road courses. The ovals came last. The fate of those courses, now business and residential, set the pattern, unfortunately, for many American tracks in the future. But America was getting excited about motor racing. Indy, the first facility built expressly for racing, went up in 1909. And out east, the Hohoka Speedway in New Jersey, built in 1912, flourished, mostly with midgets, for a quarter century, closing in 1938. Much of the reputation of racing as a deadly sport began with the Nutley Velodrome, ultra-high speeds in a small, confined arena with virtually no driver protection. Nutley once had a triple driver fatal. Today, the same land bears only mute testimony. No walk down memory lane is complete without a stop at the Shrine of the Boards, those huge tracks of the 20s made entirely of wood, whose IndyCar speed records were not broken until 1959. Several eastern cities, like Laurel, Maryland here, had them. But this was just the beginning. In a later show, we'll document speedways like Langhorne, Trenton, and Reading, and the history of modified racing in America. This is Larry Nuber.
You know, how far we've come in automotive sports is perhaps best measured in the lives saved through technology. Billy Decker explains how the dirt fuel cell system does just that.
Now, this week's Sunoco High Octane Report.
For this week's Sunoco High Octane Report, we're going to talk about fuel cells. I feel the fuel cell is the most important safety feature on the dirt modified. Due to the nature of our racing, contact is very common, and a fuel cell rupture is very possible. This could result in fire or explosion. The fuel cell is simply rubber bladder enclosed by thin steel. In case the fuel cell is damaged or deformed, the rubber bladder will conform to the dents and bruises without a rupture. In this way, fire and possible injury to the driver is avoided. In long races such as Syracuse, we use a quick fill fuel system which will let gas in at a high rate of speed and won't let it out. This is another fuel cell safety feature on the dirt modified. For this week's Sunoco High Octane Report, I'm Billy Decker.
Nothing's too good for my baby. Nothing. So my baby gets very special treatment.
There's a gasoline so special, it even exceeds BMW's detergency standard.
Fill it up. Ultra.
Sunoco Ultra 94. Clean power from the highest octane under the sun. Nothing else can match it.
Nothing.
Some 3x5 snapshots of small block races are the subjects of the Fuji Points Picture this week.
Starting at Frogtown, John LaRock is the leader, Sandy McIntosh second.
On to Edelweiss, and it's Laurent Ladouceur.
Moving on to Flemington, Jerry Brophy's got the lead. Mike Wilsick is in second place.
Leading the way at Orange County, Brett Hearn.
At Can-Am, no surprise here, Pat O'Brien out front.
And at Cornwall, it's Laurent Ladouceur with 404 points. Mostly good, tight races.
And some tight races coming up on the Weekend Wars. Stay tuned.
It's my steak place.
Round, round, great deals.
It's our lunch place.
Ground, round, my ground, round.
It's our favorite place.
Ground, round is the place to be.
It's my birthday place.
Great prices for your family.
It's our family place.
Ground, round, my ground, round.
It's our game place.
Ground, round.
And you're gonna love our prices.
Super Dirt Week 91 at the New York State Fairgrounds in Syracuse. A week of non-stop action. Saturday, the Ground Round Nationals featuring the World of Outlaws and the Wheels Discount Auto Store's 358 Championship. Sunday, the richest race on dirt, the Miller 300. Make your vacation plans early.
They don't have race cars in the Caribbean.
Gotta have sprint cars, modifieds, and partying, no doubt.
Don't miss the greatest week on dirt. For information, call 315-834-6606.
The way to not win in tennis is to think too much about your opponent. Because in tennis, you don't just play the opponent. You've got to play the ball. It's how you play the ball that determines whether your shot is in or out. Whether the point is won or lost. Play the ball better than your opponent, and you'll play winning tennis. Now, you can play the ball and win with this double offer from Tennis Magazine. You'll receive a free half-hour video by Tennis Magazine instruction editor Vic Braden, plus a full year, 12 issues of Tennis Magazine. Call this number now and change the way you play tennis. What a combination. The How to Play Winning Tennis with Vic Braden video, plus the magazine that brings more instruction to more tennis players than any other. Call 800-228-4420 for a full year of Tennis Magazine plus the free video. Just $13.77. Call 800-228-4420 now.
The battle lines were drawn, but inclement weather kept most engagements at bay. Thankfully, some hardy troops managed to break through the minefields and provide us with some thrills. Here's Andy with the Weekend Wars.
The Orange County Fairgrounds Speedway, Saturday night, Middletown, New York. The program begins on a sad note. Brad Holland's car makes its last tour of the Speedway. Holland died earlier in the week in a highway accident. Now we move to small block modified action. On the front row as the field comes down to the green flag, Ed Zachary brings them into turn one, and Zachary loses it right in front of everybody. Almost everybody gets clear. A couple of cars up into the wall, and the yellow flag comes out. The race restarts. Sean George, the white number 15, down the back straightaway. He darts low and takes the lead. Mike Rickey in the Howie Finch team car on the outside, that yellow number 25 following through the hole. That's Brett Hearn in the 6th. They're up to second and third. Now moving along with the action as the field goes into turn number 1. Sean George on the inside, Brett Hearn on the outside. No match here. Brett Hearn takes the lead. He goes on to his 8th win of the year at Orange County. Big block modified feature action. That's Dirk Adrians on the outside. The red number 44 on the inside. Carl Pittenger. Adrians had the lead the whole way. He's a Flemington transplant, but Pittenger takes the lead in turn number 2 and begins to draw away. Now a restart. Watch the car in 6th place on the outside of the 3rd row. That's Jeff Hessler. He's 6th. He's 5th. He's 4th. He's 3rd. He's 2nd. He's all the way up to 1st place on the outside down the back straightaway. But the real story in this race, Brett Hearn. He was sent to the back twice this night, once by a wreck and the second time by the officials. And from that time on, he drove like a man possessed. Hearn on the outside, Hearn on the inside, Hearn wherever he wanted to put it. Saturday night at Orange County. He takes the lead. Nobody would beat him but the late Brad Holland. The field was called off the track on the white flag lap, and Holland's number 280 took the ceremonial checkered flags. Can-Am International Saturday night where they're braced for the Lapco Invasion July 23rd, the Super Dirt Series. Lap number 1, that's Brent Cross in the 103. He draws away from Sandy Roberts. Dave Hayslip in 3rd place. Cross now leading, but the challenger, Danny O'Brien in the number 17. The pocket rocket right on Brett Cross's tail. And where's brother Pat O'Brien, you ask? Well, he tangles with Rob Winters in the number 1 is sideline. From that point on, it was all Brent Cross. His 2nd win of the year at Can-Am. Moving on Sunday night to Cornwall. Sandy Roberts brings down the field. Dave Hayslip right in tow. A big crowd on hand. Cornwall really packs him in every Sunday night. Here, Davey Hayslip packs it underneath Sandy Roberts. He gets the lead, but the real story, Pat O'Brien. He's in brother Danny O'Brien's white number 21. It's a pickup ride for the night. And watch these moves around the Cornwall quarter mile. Pat O'Brien charges around Dave Hayslip. He's into the lead. His regular car, the Sheldon Gui number 1, was being equipped with a big block for the Quebec Tour. So Pat borrows the family small block, and he's in victory lane. That's the Weekend Wars.
Time now for the selection of our nice and easy grocery shop's driver of the week.
And Doug, this one was awful easy for going from last to first in one of the biggest races of the year on the dirt circuit. Our driver of the week, Barefoot Bob McCreadie.
And the Barefooted Wonder wins $200, a special medallion, and is now eligible for the Nice and Easy Driver of the Year award and $1,000. Special thanks go out to Dale Snyder for his historical videos we use on the show. And he can be reached at Snyder Video Productions in Nazareth, Pennsylvania. For Andy Fusco, Doug Logan, thank you for joining us on This Week on Dirt, and so long for now.
This Week on Dirt is brought to you by Budweiser. Nothing beats a Bud. By Sunoco Gasoline. By Ground Round Restaurants. And by Pepsi-Cola.